Um, Hello, Ed people. Good
Yeah,
morning to you.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Great. Good morning to you. Good afternoon. Good evening, wherever you may be on the face of the planet. My name is Tosin Kolaole, and it is my pleasure to be with you today on another edition of Climate Action 101. I'm so excited today because of the exciting conversation we're going to be having today on a topic that I know is very germane to the survival of human species. But before I introduce my guest today, I'll first like to ask you to please subscribe for the channel, like our video, and share with your friends. I had some initial technological challenge. That's why we're starting a little late. Please pardon me for that. Yes, as human species, we need a fundamental shift in a global approach to climate change. And there's no doubt in the fact that climate change impacts all forms of life on the planet. And so it's important for us to reduce our carbon emissions in the atmosphere, to reduce the excess and the increasing greenhouse gases that we're releasing into the atmosphere, so that we can be able to meet the Paris Agreement by 2050. And in order to do that, one of the solutions that's been put in front burner is the power of renewable energies, and that's a good transition. But that's only just half of the story. We also need to adopt, a circular economy as a way to make and to produce materials and products and food in ways that we can reduce. It can lead to net zero and reduce pollution on the planet. And some of the resources were taken out of the soil, out of the ground, because in the first place, our resources are finite. They are not infinite. So by reducing and reducing again, we can turn back and give our products a new life. And that way we can clean up our planet and also reduce the pollution we are creating in the atmosphere. So to help us today, give us a good view of what that means and make sense of what circular economy means, we have our guests. But before then, let me thank you. Hi. So I guess today joining us is Mr. Zack Abdi. Is the managing director at Provectus Middle East, Provectus Enterprising Incorporated, an active advocate in green solution. Is currently promoting the municipal waste collection process and recycling municipal waste from food waste stream. And is done so much in the environment and circle economic space. He was an advisor to the community's social innovation Toronto chapter. Please welcome with me today, Mr. Zack. So Mr. Zack will be helping us to understand what circular economy means and why it's important, and also how we can connect the dots between circular economy and resolving climate change. You're welcome, Mr. Zack.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. I'm so happy that you corrected the audio problem that you were having in the past. You mentioned about the renewable energy.
Correct, sir.
At the beginning of your conversation. Renewable energy, as you know, could be solar energy, could be wind energy, or could be geothermal energy. Now, all of these energy that we harness, we need to also store it. So any energy that is not stored is the lost energy. So one of the storage system that people have been using recently is lithium-ion battery. So lithium-ion battery, of course, the mining of lithium is constantly used from certain countries in South America. So as you mentioned about the mining part of it, so if you do more mining, you're also creating a lot more you're disturbing the ecosystem as well. So one of the things that I'm so happy to hear about or to learn about, that finally we also having recycling of lithium-ion battery as well. So that way the economy is still running, environmental is maintained, and it's good for people. I hope that gives you a little bit of understanding about what circular economy really does and how it helps in every shape or form for everyone, for all the stakeholders.
Yeah.
One of the things that there are three pillars of sustainability. That is economy, environment, and social. So if you and I only talk about environment, then it doesn't serve the purpose of economy that is needed by people for them to have food on the table. So we need to have all three pillars. They are like tripod. If one of them is missing, then it collapses. That's circular economy for you.
Thank you. But usually emphasis it's on the environmental part of it because of the maybe because of the fact that we have limited resources, and if we continue to operate on a linear scale where we make and we waste off, that's been a concern to the world everywhere. But how can we economically begin to maximize the benefit that we take from every resource from the ground?
Well, one way to do that is, of course, to create a circular economy. I used to work for oil and gas company. All my life, I worked for companies like Saudi Aramco, which is the biggest oil company in the world. I worked for developing Saudi nationals there. I worked for Abu Dhabi National Oil Company as a career development advisor, as well as the head of national development for Qatar Gas, which is, again, a major oil and gas company. So in essence, if you look at it, I was also a part of the pollution or part of polluter group in many ways, if you look at it. Nigeria, where you're from what I heard from you, Nigeria is also oil-based, also have oil-based economy. But then again, you know what has happened in Nigeria in regards to oil spill and so forth. My point is, again, like many of us, the linear economy, it has come to an end of the road. Or it is coming to end of the road. So many of the oil-based economy countries are moving away from their linear economy and embracing or accepting the circular economy. And the reason why they're accepting circular economy because of numerous reasons, as you and I know, that is impacting all the stakeholders, no matter who you are, what we are, whatever part of the world that we live in. So the need for the circular economy is not because of choice, it's because of necessity. I started a hashtag called sustainability is necessity.
What's the intention of that? What did you intend to get out of that hashtag?
The purpose of having the circular economy is, of course, one of the biggest things that we are facing, and one of the biggest challenges we're facing, is the climate change. And the climate change, is to understand climate change is to understand the greenhouse gas. And to understand the greenhouse gas is the way to curb or to understand or mitigate the climate change. So many of us in many parts of the world, people are facing lots of issues, such as water stress and water footprint issues. such as of course, the climate change is also increasing making it more and more hotter and having all kinds of impacts. Some places they're having a drought, some places having flood. It become unpredictable. So all of these things are required. At the same time, there are a lot of solutions, such as the landfill. There's a lot of areas where not many countries have landfills. Many countries have dump site. So dump site becomes another source of the greenhouse gas emission. So the question remains is that why not create a circular economy that will mitigate all of those items not going to the landfill, so that will mitigate the greenhouse gas emission in the first place. It creates the green governance and also helps the green citizenship.
Yes. One of the challenge about especially reducing the waste that ends up the landfill, and how much of just a few of it is captured in the management sphere. A chunk of it are uncollectible because they end up in drainage and in wrong places. And so there's this concept of extended producer's responsibility. As a matter of fact, the state of Maine just come up with a law that manufacturers should bear full responsibility for their produce. What do you think about that? Some people say it's transformative.
Well, the EPR, as they call it, EPR, the extended producer responsibility, I started another hashtag, and please see if you can check it out. Yeah. I call it corporate responsibility to social responsibility. I repeat again, corporate responsibility to social responsibility. So if anyone, any companies, any organization who wish to showcase their CSR initiative, first of all, they have to understand what is their corporate responsibility first that will have a positive impact on social responsibility. So, for example, as you have recently may have noticed, a certain country in Africa, I will not mention the names, who's suing another country for the diamond mining, and that has created a major impact on their river or their waterways. That's causing all kinds of environmental impact as well as economic impact. So if you're mining, for example, diamond mining or gold mining and using cyanide and all kinds of other stuff that is creating all kinds of issues, and at the same time you give away food as a food bank, that doesn't gel well. That is a Band-Aid solution. That's not a solution. That's not a sustainable solution. So as a part of EPR, what we should look at is that if I am a supermarket or if I am a farmer, my role is not just to give away the food or transferring the food from my point to somebody else to take care of it, and somebody else will feed somebody else. That's very good for what you're trying to do, but at the same time, is that a complete loop? That's what we need to ask ourselves.
One of the prayer or the intention of the Sustainable Development Goals, which we hopefully can help to restore our planet in a sustainable way that we can all be proud of, is the Goal 12 and Goal 13. Goal 12, it talks about sustainable consumption and production, and Goal 13 talks about climate action. Do you, in your experience, from what you've seen, do you think the Sustainable Development Goals are actually useful in order for us to create a circular economy?
I'm glad that you mentioned about the SDG, Sustainable Development Goal. Again, the word is goal. The end result is goal. And if you are having a goal, and if there's time frame is missing, and the standards have not been prescribed, then it becomes half-baked cake, so to speak.
Mm.
Even I've been writing it on my LinkedIn, I've been posting, even a soccer match has 90 minutes time period. So you have to make the goal within 90 minutes. And you have certain rules where you can touch the ball, where you cannot touch the ball, if you have a handball or whatever. So the question remains is that if SDG will have all of those requirements and the time frame, because the time is the major essence. If those things are not there, then it becomes a bit of a vague. It's well intended. That was way back in the 90s. Now we're in 2021, and soon will become 2022. So the climate change deterioration is happening much faster than we anticipated. So the need for those kind of action with this proper standard will help to move forward, even with the EPR, even with the ESG, which is environmental social governance that has come out recently. So if there are engagement where people see the benefit of it, then people will do and they will participate.
Thank you. Just talking about sustainability, I understand that food security and food supply chain are also a very vital integral part of sustainability. But how can we achieve that?
Well, one way to achieve that, I was having a discussion before this with another country. Let me put it in this way, if I may. Food produced are very almost 70% of the food that has been almost 50% of the food that we produce does not land up on people's kitchen tables, because the nature of food is such, because of perishable item. And that's why you may see many of the food banks popping up every now and then, so that people are, instead of throwing them away, they give it away to the food banks. And the food bank people, they think that they've done a great job. Basically, yeah, they have done a great job by feeding people, not sending them over to landfill, so that it doesn't have the greenhouse impact. So it's in many ways, it's good. But there are so many food that cannot be consumed by people and should not be consumed by people. So what we're trying to say to people, that if food security and food supply chain is the integral part of sustainability, why not recycle those food items not going to the landfill in the first place? Why not recycle them to reuse them again? Why not recycle to reuse food waste and convert them into 100% condensed water, 100% pathogen-free water that can be used for farming? So you have less number of people going hungry. At the same time, it also gives an opportunity for everybody to have equality opportunity, empowering people with their requirement for what it is. I will speak about Africa, that we're doing some project in Africa. I lived in South Africa as well. So if you're looking at empowering people, one of the questions that you and I have to ask ourselves, how do we empower people? It sounds good to empower people, but how? Are we going to give them the fish every time they're hungry, or are we going to teach them how to fish? So that's those kind of options that we like to encourage more and more people to think about it. And that also helps them to understand the importance of circular economy.
Thank you. Talking about empowering people through using circular economy, and what just came to my mind is about women. Usually, they don't get to benefit from some of these economic, benefits. So, how can we begin to mainstream gender, women involvement and into this? How can they be a critical? Of course, they're a critical part of a player in that space, but they're often not. They are seen, but not aired. They're not among the players. How can we get women to be more active and benefit from this process?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because almost more than 50% or more women are the women population in the world. They are our stakeholders, equal stakeholders. That's what I call them, stakeholders of this planet. So if they're equally, they have the same percentage of stakeholding in this world, why not empower them as well, by which they can get the benefit? I was playing with my rings, and I was just thinking about Bill Gates, one of the things that he used to do with his ring when he was married, that he wanted to create a circular economy by giving away certain number of hens and certain number of roosters, which is fantastic, because the more hen, the more eggs, more eggs, and then again goes back to making chicken and so forth. At the same time, the reason why it may have not been successful, because many of those many of the city urban area, they don't have a space for roosters or the chicken to run around. So what we're trying to say to people, we have food and we have food waste. So why not create circular economy from municipal waste that people are throwing them away? Why not create your own circular economy by community engagement?
About community engagement, how can this be achieved through the communal level, not just a program that is driven by government? How can families of 2 or 3 come together and start building that economy from that level? What are the things that has to be done?
Absolutely, because community farming is another way forward. If you're looking at now, there's a new terminology that's been floated recently. It's called regenerative agriculture. So if you and I will try to go deep to understand what does it really mean, regenerative agriculture. What's wrong with the agriculture that what we have? One should ask. Well, those idea of, again, grow and throw. You grow and you're throwing them away 50%. Remember, I mentioned to you about this number. This is not my number. This is FAO numbers. So if that's what it is happening, farming is another business. So the reason why many of those people have gone into massive farming or commercial farming, because it is a business. So many of those people started using the pesticide in order to kill and in order to create more bumper crops and so on. So the topsoil, which is only 15 centimeters, has been used so much that it just cannot give back what you are asking for. So that's why it becomes very difficult for those land to give. So when you're not performing, if you're trying to perform, then you started using all kinds of steroid and all kinds of other substance in order to keep going. But it's come to the point where it just cannot do it. So what I'm trying to say is that why not create community farming where you can grow your own item. And in the countries like in Africa, many countries in Africa, you have a good soil, you have a good fertile soil, but there are some part of in Africa where you don't have a very good topsoil. So why not create the soil conditioning by putting back the item that was the food and use the water to do the farming. So it becomes a fantastic opportunity for people to have food to eat, and more importantly, people to understand and appreciate the food that they're eating, because that is the food that they have grown. So you're basically making many people to understand or appreciating the food that they have grown, at the same time appreciate not to throw the food, not to throw away things that you have grown. So I was involved in Grow Your Own Food initiative. So what I was trying to make people understand, how can you tell the difference between organic carrot as against non-organic carrot or inorganic carrot? They look the same. They taste almost the same. So why one is, 5 times more money than the normal carrot? The reason is, again, because of the fact that there was no chemical being used as against what was used in chemical. So if you're doing a community farming, many of those things that people are doing in the commercial farming can be stopped or can be addressed locally by each and every individuals or in the community at large.
Thank you so much for that. We have a question from one of our viewers, and the question I think is around EPR. So Avia wanted to know, in the first place, why aren't producers responsible enough to pay for recycling? And there's a follow-up question to that why would that burden be put on end users?
Well, EPR, if I got your question right, EPR, again, if you leave it up to the producer to do what you need to do or what they need to do, there is a possibility that he or she may cut corners in order to, like I've mentioned to you before, I mean, there's no point of having a diamond mine polluting the whole waterways and giving away fish later on for free. But then again, the fish could be contaminated as well. So how do you know what you know? What are you doing? So your conscience plays a very important role, number one. And number two, if the people will not buy the product, then it has a direct impact on those manufacturer or the producer of the goods. And in this time of age we live in, one slight, small, bad publicity can have a very bad impact on the producer. So they have to walk the line, a very fine line. And it's a great opportunity for them to also showcase their social responsibility at the fullest. It's an opportunity for them, for those who wish to do it. For those who try to cut the corner, they will always cut the corner.
Of course. And of course, if they get more tax, that tax is still going to be pushed down to the end user ultimately.
I'm glad that you mentioned about the tax. If I heard it right, in Canada, for example, we're having a carbon tax. So that is also another way to push people to showcase their EPR. Because when it's left to people to decide or to do something, it takes time, because it's a part of a goal. It's not a real urgency per se. So when there's a money involved, then it becomes the priority to feel the pain. That pain have an impact on your profit. That's what I call it 3 Ps.
3 Ps.
Yeah.
So what are the Ps?
3 Ps, starting with, it could be in any sequence. It depends on the situation. It means priority, pain, or profit.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So what is the priority? What's the pain? What's the profit?
Well, if you are, if you, it's a triage. Like when you go to emergency room, they got 3 kinds of people who are coming into emergency. One is bleeding, another is having heart attack, another is having high fever. Which one are you gonna attend to? All of them are priority, but then again, you need to prioritize even further. So that's the kind of thing that what we try to make people understand.
Great, thank you. I understand that you're the recipient of you got an award for peace, book
Yes.
for peace in 2021. It's an international award in favor of social integration and environment. What was it about, and what did you do?
I'm delighted. I'm humble. I'm honored. I did not apply for it. I don't know how they knew me and how they found me, just like how you know me and how you found me. So again, with this modern age and with technology that we live in, you can't stop the sun from shining. So if you're doing something right, somehow, somewhere, someone is going to look into it and say, "Hey, you know what? I need to solve this. I need to get this thing fixed." So when I'm talking to many people, when they're talking about water stress and water footprint, or they're talking about curbing the greenhouse gas, or they're talking about food security, food supply chain, or EPI initiatives, or even the green governance. So you cannot have EPR if you don't have a good green governance within your own organization. So you cannot talk about green governance if you don't have a green covenant in your own organization. And the purpose of having that is also there's a fine line, not only just for the sake of saving money, but also as a part of creating legacy. And what I've been trying to talk about it, why doesn't many of this, and I hope someone's listening, why not create a loss prevention in each company? So the loss prevention will be the one which will be responsible, will work along with the sustainable managers, the sustainability managers, to see what are the losses, where the losses, how can we plug the losses, how can we mitigate, how can we neutralize, and how can we make a better company, a better organization to create the legacy.
Thank you, sir. Talking about legacy, I want to pick one of your quotes and permit me to read it. And you wrote in your book that why throw away resources only to create further landfill stress? Why not recycle to create a circular economy for addressing the economic equality process? Why not accept innovations to propel sustainability and create legacy? This planet is not inherited by our ancestors, rather borrowed from our future generation. We owe it to Gen Z. Is this a creed that drives the work you do?
Well, every word that I have, what you just read out, I mean it. I mean it because, like I mentioned to you, working for oil and gas company myself, was a polluter or was a member of the polluting team or company. But even if those companies that started, or those organizations, or those economies started realizing the need for them to correct, for them to accept, for them to embrace innovation, to propel sustainability, to create legacy. So why are we throwing them away? Why are we throwing away the resources that we have only to create a greenhouse gas? Yes, we have. I have been saying this. Another quote you may even read it out later on. I've been saying from COP26 to COP56, will it make any difference to us? Because I've been reading about COP 19, 18, whatever. Now we come to 26. But then again, it goes back to the same thing what I've been saying to you. SDG goals are fantastic, but if there's no time frame on it, how can it be considered as fantastic? Yes, scientists have been warning us about this temperature rising by 1.5, and it will have a bad impact, negative impact. But the engagement from the community, and that's why I'm going to use the word community, the engagement from the community is missing. So until unless we start looking from bottom up, that's why I was telling you about the community farming and all those things. So it becomes an opportunity for each and every individual, including children, to understand the need for them to be a stakeholder of this planet. Because if you and I just going to sit on our hands and waiting for COP26 to become 56 or whatever number, you just cannot keep on sitting on our hands and doing nothing. While the water will be rising, while the snow will be melting, while the food security and food scarcity will be there, while the water will run out of it, the rivers are running dry, the lakes are going dry, the wells are going dry, what are we going to do then? Now, I've also been one of those vocal regarding the desalination water. There are certain countries in the world where we just take the machine or equipment and we pump in the water and desal them and create the water from the sea. But then again, what happened to the brine? What happened to the end product of the salt that you have taken? Where do you put them? So those kind of questions that we need to ask and we need to find. If you and I will not be able to measure the waters, for example, water use, and we are not monitoring the water use, and we are not mitigating the water use, then where in heaven's name water will come from? So in other words, I often say to people, water is life, but it's not a cliche, it's a reality.
And so even understand that we're 60%, our body is 60% made of water.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, like 70% of the world water, potable water, is used for farming. Out of 100%, 50% of the food produced that we use or we produce goes to the landfill, only to create greenhouse gas. So that's why what you quoted before, that's why I'm saying, why throw away your resources? Why not mitigate that in the beginning, in the first place?
Thank you so very much. Thank you. It's been a pleasure having you on today. Ed people, Zack has just provided unique perspective on what needs to happen for circular economy to help government, companies, businesses, cities, and organizations to address climate change and to meet the SDG goals. He said that businesses must essentially embed circular economy in their climate strategies and make smart decisions about how to design, how to sell their products and services. And the government needs to set enabling policies and put the necessary infrastructures in place. And for investors needs to mobilize capital towards circular economy solutions, and international organizations needs to put circular economy on the global climate agenda. And for individuals like you and me, irrespective of our economic status, we must embrace the culture of reducing, reusing our waste, and be more responsible. Thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your wisdom with us. We're glad you came and we're inspired by your works.
Well, thank you very much for having me in the first place. And at the same time, I will again use the word which I've been saying to many people, sustainability is necessity. Sustainability is not a word that could be used for the sake of using it. You need, if you are an organization, if you are a corporate, you need to have that embedded in your best practices, so that way you lower your cost. I'll give you one fine example before I go. If you are running a 5-star hotel in some of the Arabian Peninsula, some of the part of the world where, without mentioning the name, and if you have a 5-star hotel, you are required to provide all the services that is according to the criteria of 5-star. But then again, can you tell the companies, can you tell your clients that the swimming pool is closed because there's no water? Or can you tell them not to take a long shower? No, you cannot. But at the same time, there are certain things that you can also bring or engage the people who are staying, because more and more people have started understanding and realizing the need for sustainability for the future of their generations as well. Not only my generation or your generation, their generations as well. So people have started respecting climate change, and people accepting that there's need for it. And if you and I can, again, create that kind of engagement with the people of all walk of life, and that's why I use the word community, then it becomes easy for people to follow and people to understand. Every one of us, docent, we are environmentalists in our hearts. Every one of them, no matter who you talk to, they always will tell you that, yes, they want to do something good for the environment. If you explain it to them, people do understand. And that's why we've been working with the, as I mentioned to you in the beginning, kindergarten to industry. So let the children become the eco-warrior. Let your children become the ambassador. Let your children become the marshal. Let the children be the one to say, hey, Dad, what you're doing is not correct. And that's where the creating a legacy is important.
Thank you. Thank you for pushing this. Thank you for helping us to create a legacy that's sustainable, that we can be proud of. So, head people, thank you for watching us today on this edition of Climate Action 101. And please remember to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share amongst your friends and family. And please join me next week, same time, on Climate 2, where we bring in another actors on the space, people who, through innovations, ideas, and are driving actions to reduce and make sure that our planet is more sustainable, and we can be proud of something to bequeath to generations after us. So until then, please go out there, take care of the environment. That's the only thing we have. It's our only planet and our only home. So until I come your way again, bye-bye.
Bye now.